Hey there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith here from Fox 10 News. In this edition of Next Weather, we're going to take a look at January, an interesting month for us weather-wise across the Gulf Coast, where we saw some very, very warm weather and then at the end some very, very cold weather. And one thing I was thinking about when I was putting together the concept of this next weather was that, whenever we see a real hard freeze situation, and we have temperatures that are way below normal, a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, this is global warming, right? It's a joke. But you have to look at the totality of the month or the totality of the year, and brief extremes don't necessarily have anything to do with overall climate trends. So let's just take a look at January, because you might be surprised. We were actually above normal with our temperatures in January. So here we go. Let's take a look at the board, and running the numbers through the month, we saw an interesting transition with the temperatures. The first 2 weeks, the first two lines from the 1st through the 10th, you can see a lot of red in there. The red temperatures are the days we were above normal. The neutral colors, like on the 4th and the 13th, those were days where we saw average temperatures. And then the blue numbers are the days that we were below average. So while we saw some extreme cold at times, we actually saw a lot of extreme warmth, and we had some record temperatures, and we almost hit 80 degrees earlier in the month. So if you average it out, we were about a half a degree above average in January. And when you get that heating bill, you're still probably going to feel the sting, because the result of all that energy consumption the last week or two really going to have a big impact on a lot of those bills. But earlier in the month, we were actually probably running the air conditioner in some spots. So let's take a look at the numbers here. And this is just the raw number output. But if you look at what I have circled in red here, each one of these are the degrees above normal for each day, the 1st through about the 10th. And there were a couple of days where we were averaging out. We had morning lows in the upper 60s. It looks like on the 9th, we were 22 degrees above normal on the 9th of January. We were at 21 degrees above normal on the 8th of January. So if we kick it forward to the bottom of the month, that's where we saw the cold air. And it's human nature to always think about what's happened most recently to us. But if you look at the month in its totality, our temperatures actually averaged out about a half a degree warmer than normal. Now, that's not a big amount, but it's just interesting that we have a cold spell, and temperature is 21 degrees normal, but we saw below normal. But we saw so many days where we were above normal, and that affected things. And if you look at last year, 10 of the 12 months were actually above normal. So we've actually been trending above normal most of the time, even though we've had some cold spells. And last year, we were above normal a lot of the months of the year, but we had that 1 week where we saw 8 inches of snow, and we had a major snowstorm, and that was an anomaly. That was an outlier. If you look at the year as a whole, it was actually an above normal year with our temperatures. And we saw the same thing this January. It's very common with La Nina years to see periods of time where you're way above normal, and then you have brief cold air outbreaks, and that's kind of the setup for La Nina. So let's see what's ahead as we head towards Valentine's Day. Look at this. The pendulum is swinging back towards the warmer than average stuff. And we're going to see a little setback behind some of this rain. Back half of the week, we'll have highs only in the 50s on Thursday. We're going to have a couple of frosty mornings, and then we're going to be right back to the warmer than average temperatures. If we go out a little bit further, it looks like that warm bubble wants to shift more over our direction as we get past Valentine's and towards the middle of the month through the 17th. So climate and tracking climate, it's really all about the long-term situation. You don't think about what just happened, but you have to take a look at months as a whole or a year as a whole. And then looking ahead, it's the same thing. We can look at the short-term forecast, and we've got a little cold spell for Thursday this week, but it's only going to last a day or two. And then the trend as we head through the middle of February is actually going to be above average. And I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't end up with above normal temperatures for the month of February, maybe a lot warmer than what we saw on average during the month of January. So that's a look back and a look ahead as we head into a new month. Thanks for joining us.